landmines?
Oh, she's so cute!
Squiggly wiggly!
Hello, and welcome to WedSNESday. So, last year I covered the game Super C, one of the few games that starts with Super that wasn't on the Super Nintendo. And when Contra finally did move to the Super Nintendo, they dropped Super in the name. Contra III, the Alien Wars.
So, Contra has always been the most manly romp you can possibly imagine. It also gets as close as possible to stealing 80s movies characters as they can, and this game is no different. Also, I don't know if this is true, but it really feels like a remake of Super C. But there are less levels, and there are some levels that I really couldn't say, oh yeah, this was in Super C. But the opening level certainly seems guilty of this, because you're just shooting your way through a city. So, early on into my play session, I find out that this game is fun, but not nearly as fair as Super C. Super C had the best balance of any game I have ever played. However, in this game, you have a little less reaction time, there's a few more things on screen, scummy enemy placement, and a whole dungeon full of beginner's traps. However, I think back in 1992, this is a fantastic thing, because you are not going to beat this game on your very first try. However, each try after your first try, you're going to get a little further and further into the game, and the steady improvement would be very encouraging. However, I'm a spoiled 2018 gamer who wants to do one quick playthrough and call it a review, so...
Three hours later.
So we start off with shooting a bunch of dudes, and the basic gun's fire rate is awesome. I really enjoy all the pickups that you find. Sadly, the scatter gun has been nerfed, but it's still a lot of fun to use, as well as the heat-seeking missiles. Okay, so the first real trouble of this game is not the aliens, but these dogs. Oh, I wish I could just shoot them before they spawn. But no, they need to come into my plane of existence before I can shoot them, and honestly, trying to shoot them and the other 50 dudes, it really just overwhelms me, and I land right on the dog, and it kills me. There are 3 of these dogs in a row, and they are just pests. But after you get past them, you get to a fun vehicle section. Just hop in and blow your enemies to Kingdom Come, right up until you come to the grenade guys who blow your tank to Kingdom Come. Aw, now I gotta be a lame-o and walk again. So from this point, you went to the dollar store, because around here, things can get pretty cheap. First off, this plane flies over your head, and if you don't know that it's shooting napalm at you, you are going to get burnt to a crisp. But, now you can try out Contra's cool new climbing mechanic. You can either climb up the sides of walls or hang from a pipe, and my favorite, hang from a pipe and shoot at the same time. This is what a cool dude looks like. However, now we're on the move, and we're gonna need to get killed at least 2 times. First off on the docket is this son of a bean. So, it telegraphs that fire is gonna shoot from here. So, you make sure that you're not in its line of fire, kinda like you did earlier in the stage. However, when this particular geyser shoots up, it also fires up a bunch of debris that will kill you if you're anywhere near it.
Ugh. You know what? It's fine, it's fine. It's just like Grandpappy always said.
Pain is just injuries entering the body.
And now for the second thing that's not completely fair. It's this slanted geyser. Now, I feel like you might be able to figure out how it works without losing life, but still, it messes with you. You see, you've gone past a couple geysers up to this point, and you've learned that you have to go past them super fast. So when you come up to this one, you're still in the mindset. It's like, okay, gotta go fast, don't get singed. But if you go fast, you do die. See, if you try to get out of its line of fire immediately, you die. You kinda need to stop halfway through, duck down, and it messes with your expectations, man. But I will say this about the whole fire platforming section. While it was a sneaky treaky and stole a few lives from me, I still did find it fun overall. After you get through that, all of the fire subsides, and then you fight a rather easy mini-boss, followed by an even further boss. And surprisingly, and I cannot believe that I'm saying this, the normal gun is better than the scatter gun for this fight. Oh, only this fight, okay? After you kill the boss, you get an awesome picture of a buff dude. And then we head off to a top-down stage. Okay, so I take down the turret and, why can't I turn around? Yeah, I mean, this is decent. Well, let's say, I don't know, hypothetically, an enemy approached me from my, let's say, left. What would I do then? So I fiddle around with the controller for a couple more seconds, and I soon find that the L and R buttons control the entire screen.
What's with all these early SNES games implementing weird camera angles?
Alright, well I wouldn't call this control system ideal. It still is playable, but it does make me a little queasy. So I'm walking along and... okay then. Another fun beginner's trap. If you don't know that this ground crumbles, you die! Heck, even after you know the bridge is gonna collapse. Trying to walk across it isn't any easier. This is just such a pain, and it would take a couple of seconds to try and line it up. But since enemies are constantly bombarding you, you need to turn your entire body to face them, which undoes all the work that you did of trying to line up walking across this bridge. Ow! However, the upside is that if you press the L and the R buttons at the exact same time and then press the fire button, you do a pirouette, firing both of your guns! Will you hit anything with this technique? I highly doubt it. But will you feel awesome? You better believe it, sonny. But after you take down all of the turrets on the level, you have yourself a boss fight, and this is a really fun boss fight. Tons of targets for you to shoot and lots of bullets to dodge. But he does have a move that takes away lives from beginners. He will just straight up charge at you, and if you didn't know you need to dodge it, you're probably going to lose a life. But aside from that, this is a really fun boss battle. So, level 3 starts you off with a flamethrower, and it is ridiculously easy with this weapon. Early on, you start monkey barring your way across these pipes, and then all of a sudden these birds come out of everywhere. And unlike every other enemy in this game, these birds do not instantly kill you. Instead, they start carrying you away. I think. You see, the thing is, I realized I didn't die, but I also killed them so fast I didn't know what they planned to do to me. But after I got past them, I made it to some bosses. The first guy was pretty easy. I can't even describe him because I don't remember the fight. I remember what happened. It was super easy, but the second guy was probably the easiest thing in this entire game. I will admit that if I did not have the flamethrower, this may have been a bit more of a pest. However, I did have the flamethrower, so instead of dodging missiles, we just slowly climbed up the side of this, like, ladder thing, and the whole time I'm just spraying him with the flamethrower so that the missiles he shoots at me were just destroyed before they even spawned, you know? However, the next part of the level more than makes up for it because it is the cheapest boss in the game. So it's obviously ripping off the Terminator, but these creeps are fast. They have tough to dodge patterns, and even if you dodge them, there's like another guy on the other side of the room that'll just shoot you with a gun. It is simply just a cheap old time. I mean, even after you kill them, they break in these maddening little torsos that just speed around the room and pounce at you. But after you kill those two guys, the level still isn't over because of this dude! Now he has 3 attack patterns, 2 which will probably kill you. The first attack he has is these laser eyes, and even after they kill you the first time, they're still bouncing around and it's really annoying. His second attack, he starts breathing fire at you, and you'll probably die until you learn the fact that you can indeed pull a Lionel Richie. The bombs aren't really that threatening. You just try to get away from them before they hit 0. But once I learned all of this guy's nonsense attack patterns, he actually became fun. Except for the laser eye thing. That was still a bit much. But level 4 is awesome. You're on a motorcycle the whole time. Okay, so the beginning is a bit of a mess. These guys will come down, and if you're at the front of the screen, you're gonna get shot, and if you're at the back of the screen, you're gonna get blown up. But you can probably survive if you know what these guys are. You see, the ones that are leaning slightly forward are the gunners, and the ones that are sitting upright are the grenadiers. After you blast them out of the sky, you need to fight a tank that is pulling some serious speed going backwards and shooting missiles at you. But the missiles can be shot, and so it's really easy to beat him, even if he does have his airbound buddies. After that, a plane flies over you, and we've got a whole array of fun challenges set up, some funner than others. For example, dodging. Fun. Shooting. Really fun. Unavoidable death beam. I'm gonna put that on the lower side of the fun spectrum. And then we fight this thing. It's easy enough, I guess. It's just a little annoying to fight because his weak spot is usually covered by these weird long leg things. And after that, a helicopter comes down and it expects you to jump up and grab onto this missile. Once you do that, you're lifted up and you need to fight Link. You see, he just swings around on his hookshot, and occasionally he'll come up and hit you with his sword. And then we have the craziest boss battle of all time, jumping from missile to missile, trying to avoid these flying death brownies, all while trying to make time to shoot the turrets at the top and the bottom of the screen. Gonna be honest, this boss is complete sensory overload. There are at least 4 things trying to kill you at once, and honestly, my brain can only handle like 2 of them. Many lives were lost on this battle, but after that shield disappears, shooting it in its weak spot is easy. leading us to another top-down level. You know what? All things considered, this is a pretty easy level. All you gotta do is shoot these spawner mount things and walk on some moving sand. What the frick? What the frick? What the frick? You go around, shoot some enemies. This is a very straightforward level, except one part. There is one cheap part. It's the bridges. If you step on the bridges just start collapsing. And if you don't know that, well, if you stop on the bridge, you die. After all the spawner mounts are destroyed, you go and you fight a boss. And fortunately, they give you a laser at the very beginning of the fight. And that makes the first phase a breeze. The second phase, it is hell on earth. If the sand simply pushed me to the left constantly, that would be okay. That would be a fun and fair challenge. But that's not what happens, is it? Ah, not again! After a couple of deaths, I just threw my hands up and said, screw it. If I'm gonna die, I'm gonna at least die doing damage. So I just stood here and died 3 times. But eventually I did kill it off. The final stage was very reminiscent of Super C's final stage. You shoot some aliens, you deal with these mouth holes in the floor and the ceiling, then you realize that you're kinda low on lives, so you rubber band your controller, and then you watch a couple of episodes of My Hero Academia.
Young man, you too can become a hero.
You really can become a hero! And now we're ready for the final bosses, like 6 in a row. The first one was so simple that I don't even remember it. The second one is like this dragon. You fight it on a cliffside, and it just tries and ram you with its head until you damage it enough. Then it goes for like this tail stabbing motion, but I did find a pattern that worked pretty well on it. Then we have to fight this heart that's just like shooting face crawlers the whole time. For this fight, I would shoot at the top and the bottom, mainly concentrating on the face crawlers, and eventually enough bullets will hit the heart that you weren't even shooting at it that you'll eventually win. After that, you have the final boss from Super C. The pretty lady face giant crawly thing. I'm pretty sure that's what the game guide calls her, at least. Then we get to the evil thing. First, you shoot at side mouths. You know what? Hold on for a second.
Okay, what is this game's obsession with mouths?
Well, whatever. After you kill the mouths, you need to shoot it in the eyes, and then you need to shoot it in the face gem. And the whole time this is happening, some aliens are rushing you from the sides, and it's pretty easy. Then at last, the brain! Why are final bosses always exposed brains? Metroid, Gradius, Star Fox. People do realize that an exposed brain is probably one of the weakest parts of the body, right? So this one has a bunch of balls circling around it, and when you shoot the balls, it will decide what attack pattern you're doing next. Some of them are pretty fun. Some are just attacks. Nobody can look me in the eye and tell me that this attack pattern is remotely readable or fair. But after several volleys of attack patterns, the brain finally goes limp. The helicopter flies down and lets me ride out on the gigantic missile. And then once we get out, the alien base lets loose a gigantic explosion. Then they drop me off in the first level and expect me to do it all again. But honestly, I've reached my allotted amount of aliens that I'm allowed to kill per day, so I'm set.
So, that's Contra III. The Alien Wars! You know, a bit on the cheaper side, but with awesome graphics and smooth gameplay. I'd be lying if I said I didn't have a lot of fun with it. Alright, next time on WedSNESday, we'll be taking a look at The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Let's see if I can do that during Zelda month.